Weird. It just blocked the video as soon as it went to, live. Well, how'd you survive that night? Lots of crazy energies going on right now. The Schumann resonance is like off the charts. It's just like a white snow cloud. Today is Saturday. Where are we at? May 6th? I think so. 6th, 7th. It's all a blur now. So what I wanted to come on here today is to speak about the concept of self-mastery. Most people probably don't have the slightest idea of what self-mastery is. Got a light switch right in the back of my head. So self-mastery at a 3D level can be a lot of different things. So some people go into martial arts and they master their body and master control and build their body up to be a temple and do amazing things from this mastery and knowing the limits of the body, etc. So that's a 3D example. Self-mastery of more of a spiritual side or ascension side is to basically begin to understand yourself completely. What triggers you, what makes you mad, what makes you sad, what makes you unhappy, how your body feels in those situations, how you react when you're in an emotional state, how you tread in unknown territory when stuff starts going sideways and you're not sure what's going on. Those inner processes of calming yourself, being the observer, recognizing a trigger and stepping back, not just letting it overwhelm you, but sitting consciously in whatever shows up and not creating reaction until you've processed and choose an action that's not from reaction or pain or trigger, but choosing from what feels right in your heart, what feels right in your body in the moment. This might feel like hard and a long ways away for a lot of people, but without self-mastery, let's look at it this way. So ascension, we are moving into a state of enlightenedness, so removing all of our heaviness and the stuff that's dragging us down and keeping us mired in density and low vibration. And we're transiting to a place where we are reconnecting with our God self. So our God self, can you imagine being a god, like in our world? Let's look at like Marvel or something, Thor, or what we frame as a god, or in church, the God that we speak of. Well, a god is all powerful. It's got all these really superhuman capabilities and abilities to fly and do things, ultra strength, etc. Well, if we're transiting to our connection to source and our God self, do you think it would be really good to get a whole bunch of powers where you could maybe incinerate people with your eyes or something like that if you were a bundle of triggers and just waiting to hate and hurt people? It couldn't be possible. So that's why our density keeps us from being able to access our God capabilities. So being able to bilocate or change where we are, or let's say we can shapeshift or other things. These are all powers, if you read about spirituality, that are part of being in our God self. So Can you imagine with that great power that we're trying to go back to resume as having and holding in a human body, if we were allowed to get there without us dealing with all of our triggers and all of our anger and all of our frustration and not loving ourselves, etc., it would be a nightmare. Can you imagine? It'd be the biggest horror movie going. Look at all the wounded people and children that are going out and just being angry at people, wanting to smash them and hurt them and saying awful things and creating spells on them and all these kind of things. So our self-mastery is a very, very, very important stage of moving out of our density as a human in 3D and moving into more of a 5-dimensional state, is being to see things from love, seeing things from self-responsibility, seeing things from accountability, and understanding that, or being aware that lessons were created for us to give us a human experience, to build our gifts, our skills, our essence of who we are as a being, and being able to negotiate hard situations and walk through them and sit in our trigger and no longer feel fear and feel courage and confidence of who we are, and that I'm doing the best with what I am and not, oh, I'm a piece of crap, or whatever the world wants us to think of ourselves as, and that stinking thinking we get going on. We're now moving out of it and starting to see our essence as a part of God, as a part of Source, as a part of something magical and beautiful. And as we move into that self-mastery, we feel powerful in our body. We're not now kind of feeling like, oh, I just gotta do anything for anyone just because they ask, because I gotta please them and feel better about myself. No, this is your central core of your being, just being excited and lit up and saying, holy fuck, I'm human, I'm living this experience, and what kind of beauty and amazingness can I create by being in integrity, in love, in respect of other beings, and seeing what you can co-create with those beings at these levels of no longer being stuck in density and mire. So the self-mastery is literally the ascension. It's the moving of the consciousness out of density and brokenness and pleasing and all this kind of stuff, to finally saying, hey, look at the energy and the power I embody as me. Wow, look at all the things that I had to go through to discern what is love, what is like respecting another person, what is feeling confident that I'm making the right choice in even if I feel that it didn't work out, or I got into a bunch of lessons or other things. You get to this point where you're going from a state of confidence, a state of self-love, and a state of amazingness. But if you didn't find that self-mastery point, that place, like all these things that are coming in are beating us, and we think they're beating us down and it's just a hard world. No, they're getting us to make a choice to be better, to do better, to treat people better, to see what loving ourselves creates all around us. And then magic starts to happen, because you start to see the light in people. You don't get bad circumstances anymore because you got to learn your lesson. You've learned that lesson. You're sitting there and saying, holy fuck, who am I? And you're just shining light. You're a part of God. You're a part of magic. And now all these gifts start to show up in your life. You can read people. Your intuition gets stronger. You have telepathy. These are things that I'm experiencing already, and it's amazing. And it's new. It's like going into a playground, and now all of a sudden you have your Superman cape on, and you can jump to the merry-go-round from the slide or whatever, and it's stuff you couldn't do before. So all of a sudden life has this like childish innocence of what's possible now with this new state of honoring myself and self-worth and feeling confident, and I can deal with whatever shows up. And if a hard situation shows up, you dive into it. I watched something from Matt Kahn yesterday, and he basically said that the hiding from the situation creates the pain. So basically, if you're afraid that something's not going to work out, it creates a pain and it creates a struggle in you, and you just sit there in indecision and go tilt and tilt. So part of self-mastery is this. A good example of this is yesterday. I'm sitting on my couch, and it's like 9 o'clock at night, and then there's this loud commotion. I live in an apartment building, and there's all these people talking really loud in the hallway for like 10 or 15 minutes. They're waiting for the guy next door who's gonna have a party or whatever, and I was like terrified that something bad was gonna happen or what was gonna, but I leaned into it and I self-mastered myself, and I said, I'm gonna go out there and just be polite and just tell them that it's quite loud. So I looked out the door, and there was 10 young men. They were black. That's probably a fear that a lot of white people have or whatever. And they were talking away, and they were joking and all this kind of stuff. And I just said, hey guys, and my heart's pounding in my chest, and I'm like, what's going on? Thinking that they're going to get angry at me or whatever story I had. And I said, hey guys, and then they looked over, and it's like, hey, do you realize that this is a building and there's a whole bunch of apartments in here, and your voices are very loud and they carry down the hall. Some of us sleep here, and this is our home. And the guy's like, sorry, and I'm like, hey, thank you guys, have a good night. And I just walked in, and I came back inside, and my heart was pounding, and it was like, but nothing happened. I went and showed myself to them that they were loud, but in a polite and respectful way, not being angry. That's a step of self-mastery. That terrified me. But I have rights in this world too. Why would I self-deprecate and say, oh geez, that I gotta sit here and turn the TV up and then bother my neighbors upstairs and all this kind of stuff because they're so loud? No. The self-mastery is starting to ask for what you need and just being gentle about it and not being frustrated. So that's a step of self-growth. What hurts? What's scary? What's whatever? Lean into it. Start to self-master. Why does that hurt? Oh, geez, I was scared that standing up for myself, where in my past, in my life, in my childhood, would standing up for, maybe I got a spank, or maybe I was told children should be seen but not heard, or whatever, that I couldn't have a voice. And I stepped into it. And it doesn't have to be true anymore, because it was showing up in my 51 plus years of life. It held me. It caged me. It put me in struggle, because I would just sit here and then I beat myself up afterwards for why didn't you say something or whatever. You all know you go through this all the time in your world. That's as simple as self-mastery is to lean into something that's uncomfortable and stay positive. Don't go in your trigger. Don't hate. Don't pre-program it. And then you come out the other side and you're so proud of yourself. It's like, holy fuck, I did that. And you want to know something? There was a good result. Those same guys were partying the night before till 5 o'clock in the morning. But this time, because they'd seen me, I actually even heard them joking that somebody was pounding on the wall, which I did the other night, just before I even went out. It made me even more scared. But now I became a person. By sticking my head out in the hall, I became a person and a truth, and a person that was being nice and was coming from love. And something changed. They were a lot quieter last night, even though they were there, and there was 10 of these young gentlemen having a party or whatever. I didn't hear them. It wasn't as loud. Maybe they had some self-respect inside. That little thing that I thought was beating me and I had no choice in, and all this kind of stuff, all of a sudden turned into this like founding moment of, okay, I'm now going to speak my truth. So I don't want to belabor this or make it too long, but where in your life are you avoiding a hard conversation, leaning into something? I'm going to tell you right now, the quicker you can dive into the things that scare you and find out that it won't kill you, it's not nearly as bad as you thought, you are going to be free. And then you're going to do some more things and some more things until the point where you're a person that speaks directly and with love and clears up situations and doesn't hope sideways, that things are going to sort themselves out because I'm being passive aggressive and angry and all this kind of stuff. We all do this bullshit to ourselves, and it ties us up, and then we're not worthy and a whole bunch of other things. Lean into it. I guarantee you, if it's scary, it's going to be a huge reward. It's not there to kill you. It's not there to hurt you. And if you're coming from love, and if you're coming not from fear, but from like confidence that you're going to get through this, nothing is impossible. It just becomes easy. So think about that. Just look at situations in your life that you could make this change, and you're going to be surprised, because you're going to get courage, and you're going to start leaning into more things, and more situations are going to show up, and less and less and less are you going to have those bad situations show up, or those things that are poking at you to deal with it, because you're making a choice, and the universe will reward you. It will set you free. So, I love you. Where are you pursuing self-mastery? Have a good day. See you soon. Bye.